Hello to all the viewers. My name is Anisha and today we will study about educational psychology. I will explain this chapter in detail. I can also wrap it up for like 3 to 5 minutes of video, but that won't give you a proper understanding of it. I will use both Hindi and English language to explain my matter so that you get the proper understanding to it. I may divide the content in parts, so I will give the link of the parts in the description below. So our very first topic will be the meaning and definition of education. Remember that we are studying education first and then we will move up to education psychology. So education's function and form was explained by philosophers, sociologists, political scientists and psychologists. Philosophers like Gandhi, they consider that education is a purposeful process by which knowledge and skills of human beings are enhanced and their behavior is changed and modified. So Gandhi was in that outlook that through education, knowledge and skill of a person can be enhanced and their behavior can be changed, and we can also rectify if we have a scope of rectifying it. Next was sociologist like B.ed. He has given the 5 facts about education, in which the first is it is a social process, another it is a continuous process, then it is a bipolar process and a dynamic process, and last is a developmental process. So he has coined out these 5 facts about education. Comes to the political scientist where they consider that able citizen and good citizen can be produced by education. And Plato was one of the political scientists who has this view about education, that through education able and good citizens can be developed so that it can contribute towards the development of nations and society. And the last is the psychologist. So psychologist has this view about education that development of men depend on the innate power and his environment. So the innate power, it means that suppose there is a child. The child do not run or do not walk by education. He started running and he started walking with a period of time, and through these innate power he learned all these things. So it is a developmental of men depends on its innate power as well as on his environment. So education should develop the innate power of men first, and after teaching him all those aspects, whatever society wants to be teach can be do it later on. So for which the society or nation wants to teach him can be teach him later on. This is the particular definition. The history we will talk about majorly. It is a particular background of forms and function of education. Now we will move upon meaning and definition of education. So meaning and definition of education was, I will suggest you to learn those definitions which are easy to understand and easy to write and easy to grasp, because the examiner do not want that the definition should be wrong by even one word, right? So learn those definitions which are easy to grasp and understand. So the very first person, Plato defined education as the means of developing good citizen. He said that through education is a way that good citizen and able citizens can be emerged out and can contribute in towards the nation's development. Explained it in a previous slide also. So it is easy definition to understand and learn. So I will suggest you to do this. So Gandhi said, by education I mean an all-round development or drawing out of the best. He said that through education a person can be developed all round and out of the best in child, man, body and spirit. So each and every perspective of a person can be developed. So he considered in the all-round development of a person. So I've put in up whatever the philosophers, sociologists, political scientists and psychologists has their views on education. So I have summarized in the below definition. So education is that continuous and purposeful social process by which the innate power of men are developed. So continuous and social process was coined by the social scholars as well as by the philosophers like Gandhi. That is a continuous and purposeful social process. So by which the innate powers of men are developed. So innate power, like I told you that a child do not learn do not educate him how to learn or how to work. He started doing this automatically through his innate powers. Then next, his knowledge and skills are enhanced and his behavior is changed. So knowledge and skills are enhanced. The scholars like Mahatma Gandhi said that through education, knowledge and skills are enhanced and the behavior can be changed also and it can be modified also. And he is made a cultured and a civilized citizen. So cultured and a civilized citizen was said by the cultured and civilized citizens was said by the political scientists like Plato. So he said that through education, cultured and civilized citizens can be emerged. And by it, the individual and society both develop continuously. So by all of this, through individual and society both can develop continuously and it can bring nation's development.
So now we will move upon towards the meaning and definition of education psychology. So before moving to the education psychology, we will have a look over towards this history of education psychology. So Vedic scholars in India, Vedic scholars do not have proposed any facts or scientific approaches in the education psychology. Whereas the Western country scholars has put up the various scientific approaches, facts, theories in the education psychology. So for the very first person in the educational psychology was Plato. Plato and Aristotle was a pupil of Plato. He was a student of him. So Plato and Aristotle said that they basically introduced the scientific approaches and figures. So Plato was the one who said that, who actually put up the education in the interest of the child's ability and capability. Whereas Rousseau took some revolutionary steps but failed because he doesn't have any scientific approach, neither any formal study on it. Next, Pestalozzi, we have talked about that he is from the psychologist, so he put up his facts, but it was not at all a scientific approach. So it was followed by Herbert and Froebel. So the three of them consider the same concept. The most important in the education psychology is the William James. William James in his book Principle of Psychology, he basically the first person who has put up psychology as an independent field. He said that psychology laws and principal facts, he put up it in a human education, and psychology and education वो ये दो टर्म लेके आए थे, psychology भी और education भी. So these both terms were introduced by William James. Later we will further we move on Alfred Binet. Alfred Binet has proposed various tests on intelligence, that how intelligence can be measured, and through the measurement or through the evolution part, we can able to know that how the child is able to perform in a education, and according to that basis a particular curriculum, a particular method of teaching can be set. So Alfred Binet introduced the test on the intelligence. Then we come upon E.L. Thorndike. Thorndike in 1905 proposed laws and principles of learning on the basis of experiments. Right? He believed that experiments is the base that a person can learn from it. A person can learn more from their own self-experience. So he focused on that point. Max Whitmer and Kohler Kofka, basically they three is also contributed a lot in this field. They presented their view that it is an independent discipline, it has own scope of study, has its scientific theories, as well as put up the research by them. So when we come upon to the definition part, I always say that choose the smallest, shortest and easy to understand definition. So the first is Kolsnik. He said that education psychology is the application of finding and theories of psychology in the field of education. So what is educational psychology? It is all the finding and theories of psychology. So whoever scholars have put up their theory, have put up their thinking, their finding, their theories. So we can apply that particular theory and finding into the field of education. so that we are able to get the problems of education through it. So we can able to get the problem of these, the solution of these problems through education psychology's principle and facts and figures. Skinner C said that educational psychology utilizes those findings that deal specially with the experience and behavior of human being in educational situation. So he focused on what? He focused on experiences as well as on the behavior of human being, which can be changed through his own experiences. So I put up all this thing in a summary, in a short, where each and every scholar's definition has been put up. So therefore educational psychology is the branch of psychology. What is education psychology? Remember, this is for suppose this is your wrong circle. This is your education, this is your psychology, right? This is your one field, psychology, and educational psychology is this part. So it is a part of psychology. So it is the branch of psychology in which forms of Ben and his education are analyzed. So his forms, his ways, and the way he is behaved can be analyzed, we can actually evaluate that his behavior is positive, negative, moderate, and whatever more through the psychology principle, laws, theories, and evolution measurement test. So moving further, and his education are analyzed on the basis of education facts. We may be able to find out the solution. I told you earlier, the solution of what? The solution to the problem related to his education. So whatever educational problem, we can able to find the solution out of the psychological principle and laws. So in choosing appropriate methods to make his education effective. So to make our education effective, to find out the solution problem through psychological principles, so it is an effective thing. So till yet the meaning and definition of education psychology is clear.